It's showtime.
To show you.
Hello, cadets. Welcome to another episode of General Howitzer's Big Monster Briefing Room. This is General Lemuel T. Howitzer, retired, and I'm wearing black, and that means that it's a vampire movie. Let me bring up my able-bodied assistants, Major Hazzard and Master Sergeant Major Havoc.
We're proud to serve as always, as you know, and we're a little bit late today. I was embroiled in a situation with the Yeti. I don't want to go into it.
Are you okay? That's the bottom line.
Master Sergeant Havoc knows when you're dealing with these creatures. Okay, look, they've been living in ice in the mountains.
I know that where you are, there is a blizzard going on. And
Absolutely.
Usually when there's a blizzard going on, Yetis want to go out and play. I understand.
They want to go out and play, and they don't got respect for the human culture and the societal norms.
They're
They
very
love blizzards. They do.
Very much.
They do. Yeah, they're very rambunctious.
Very.
And they love to do the snowball fights and build.
Don't go to that fast food place and order a blizzard. You know. So
they get very rambunctious. That's the word. They're
Very
like rascals.
with M&Ms in it.
The little rascals. They don't mean no harm, by the way. But if you see one of these creatures, you're in a blizzard and you see like a white wild man coming at you, just don't engage.
What?
Just don't engage with the Yeti. Don't engage with the abominable snowman. He's got that moniker for a reason. There's something abominable about him. But he's playful. It's not like he means any harm. But at the same time, do you really want to be there when they're doing the snowball fights and all of that? No. You don't. The answer is no. Let me save you the trouble. I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Don't do it. Just go home.
Because you never know what's in the middle of that snowball.
Yeah, you don't even want to know. And my lab has analyzed several of them. And let me trust you, there's some scat.
Is it a yellow snowball?
There's some scat in there. You don't want the scat.
Oh my God, a brown snowball.
Yes. And that's the best of it, General. I'm not even going to reveal the worst of it.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
You don't want to know because you have nightmares for months, okay?
Okay.
You can't unsee it.
I'm having nightmares right now.
Exactly. Well, because you've been down these roads, Master Sergeant.
Well, you should.
I have.
Well, you should.
Intimately.
Yep.
So a lot of people are saying, hey, we know you do a lot of old training films. Can you do something new? Show me something new. And so we're doing tonight, or this during this show, I should say, because some people might watch it in the daytime. You know, we're doing Renfield. Which is a relatively new movie, training film, starring Nicolas Cage, of all people, as Dracula. And I didn't think I was going to buy it, but he's pretty darn good Dracula, actually, to be honest. Very nasty. And yet very charming. Kind of like Lugosi, you know. And they do some funny stuff with AI where they take the old movie with Bela Lugosi, the black and white one, and they kind of superimpose Cage's face on Dracula, and they superimpose Nicholas Hoult, the British actor's face, on Renfield, which is kind of cool. We're going to see that in our timeline. This is episode 169. We were going to do, we were going to go to 170 for this season, and we were going to cut it off. But the fact of the matter is we've got a special guest coming on March 20th. Who's going to? He was there for the filming of The Frighteners. He was the sheriff in the movie. Troy Aiken. I think I got that right. Anyway, he's going to be here to talk about the filming of that training film with us in a couple of weeks, which means, we got 2 more weeks to go. So we're actually going to go to 171 this season. So I'm going to throw in a surprise next week. I don't know what we're going to do, but I've got a feeling like I know what we're going to do, but I'm going to throw you a surprise next week. But this time we're doing Renfield. So let's go ahead and get into our timeline. It is a Universal movie. Because let's face it, if it's Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, what have you, the Mummy, it's Universal. That's their monsters. They started this whole thing. So we start out the movie with Nicholas Hoult as Renfield, and he's in a support group. And he's listening to other people's stories about how they are codependent, how they're with people that they can't get away from, that they can't stand. And he relates because he's under Dracula's thumb. And he goes back to, he shows Dracula, and Dracula is being attacked by some villagers in Transylvania. And he's killing people, and Renfield is watching, and he has to be a part of it. But he goes, no, let's go back to the the very beginning. And we see scenes from the original Universal Dracula, but with their faces superimposed digitally onto Lugosi and Dwight Frye, who played the original Renfield. And it looks pretty darn good. Look at that. That looks pretty legit, actually.
Yeah. You didn't know any better. You thought, they went back in time and stuck these 2 in there.
Or they actually recreated the whole set and everything. This is what I thought at first. And then it was like, wait a minute, no, come on. In the digital age, they put their faces over over the original.
But like I said, it looks pretty good. And Nicolas Cage. I think
this scene they actually recreated the set. But on that staircase with the window and everything, I think they digitally put their faces over them.
Yeah.
So and again, Cage looks like the classic Dracula here. But you look at him and you're going, that's Nicolas Cage.
I got to talk about Mr. Cage for a moment because he's very charismatic, as you know. He's very sexy. He's a wild man. Forget the abominable snowman. This guy, if he were to send a snowball flying at you, I don't know what would be inside it. But he's absolutely a wild man. But he's a master of his craft, and I hope one day maybe he'll come on the show. You never know.
Now, when they did Ed Wood and got Martin Landau to play Dracula, or to play Bela Lugosi, I should say. There was very minimal makeup to it because he kind of looked like Lugosi in the face, and you don't really think, oh, okay, Nicolas Cage looks like Bela Lugosi, but he does. Look at him. The nose is almost the same. The eyebrows are done up just right. He's got the kind of the overbite that Lugosi had. They slick his hair back just like Lugosi's, and they don't go overboard with the little point. Lugosi didn't really have that. But, a lot of Draculas after that, they do a little point on his head. I don't know why they do that. Anyway, so again, look at this. This looks legit. This looks like the real thing.
Mm-hmm. And even Nicholas Hoult here, and I know they just stuck his face on the other guy, but he looks like Renfield. He looks like
he's got the look there. Yeah,
he's got the look
in that particular picture. We all know that picture. It's iconic. So now Renfield explains, and this is something new to the lore that they threw in. By eating the bugs, he gets like vampire. He gets kind of vampire powers. Mm-hmm. They're not as strong as a vampire, but the closest thing I can come to is there's a movie about where you take a pill and it makes your brain like go to 100% function. What the hell was the name of that movie?
Limitless.
Limitless, yeah. And it kind of makes you like that. You're thinking real fast on your feet, and you're kicking ass and taking names. So anyway, he eats a bug, and boom, his eyes go like werewolf yellow, and then boom, he becomes this superhero. I'm not hero, but this super kind of being who could do all kinds of incredible stuff. So here, it looks like the Pope is there in Dracula's castle. Obviously a cardinal or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And there's some vampire hunters there with him, maybe a Van Helsing. They never say. And they get him trapped in a it's a circle.
Like, a protective circle or something like that.
Like a protective demon circle. Yeah. And again, in lore, or if you watch Supernatural, and I'm a fan, it's a salt circle basically. But they say in this movie it can be powder. Now there's a reason for that later on in the film. We'll get to that because there's some comedy in this, quite a bit actually, very dark comedy. So anyway, it's a powder that they somebody, like a priest, has to say some Latin words over it, and boom, it turns it into a power circle there that traps the demon. So it's got Dracula trapped there, and of course he appeals to Renfield. He's, I'm your closest friend. I only understand you. He says exactly what he wants to hear, that kind of thing. And but he's still very abusive. That's the whole idea. That's the whole premise of this movie, is that Dracula is abusive and terrible to work for, and and Renfield wants to get away from him. So anyway, Renfield gives in and he slides his foot across the powder, and it breaks the circle. And look, I keep wanting to say Lugosi. Dracula is free. So Dracula becomes a cloud, like a dark fog kind of dark thing, and he goes into the priest and blows him up. This is a very graphic film, by the way. And by the way, folks, this is not a kid's show. All right. So I just want to say that right out of the gate. There's some pretty bad gore in this film, actually. Pretty gory for Universal. The new monster movies they've come up with. And again, this is the new Dracula. And they got the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro, and Van Helsing, and all of those have pretty graphic effects, lots of blood and stuff. And there's a lot of CGI blood in this, but very well done. And the blood reflows. Anyway, one of the vampire hunters manages to shoot the curtain down, and the light comes in and starts to burn Dracula. And Renfield kills the last guy, and he goes, "Master, are you okay?" We have a skeletal Nicolas Cage saying, "No," which is very funny. And here's the thing: we never really saw Lugosi's teeth as Dracula. He didn't really have fangs. We never really saw his teeth in this film. Throughout the film, Dracula's teeth are all very sharp, pointy, like who's that 70s vampire played by Robert Quarry?
Yorga.
Count Yorga. Yeah, his teeth were all sharp points.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, I figured this was kind of a nod to London After Midnight. The vampire.
That too. Yeah.
It's got all the sharp, pointy.
That's true. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. That's right. So we come to modern day New Orleans, because that's where vampires go. I don't know why. Anyway, it's the Anne Rice thing. So he's hanging out at a joint that he likes to hang out at, Renfield. And he's trying to do some paperwork for Dracula. And his pen runs out of ink, and he gets a pen, and it has a name of the support group that he ends up going to on it. So, by the way, Nicholas Hoult is a very good actor. And in this, he's exceptionally good. He's, it's funny, when I first saw this training film, when it came out in the theaters, I didn't notice his British accent. But now, when I rewatched it, when we were getting the timeline ready, yeah, he's got a very prominent British accent. He is going to be Lex Luthor in the Superman movie that Gunn is doing this year. So that should be interesting. So here we go. They're back in the support group, and we find out that Renfield is going to the support group to find bad people. they're terrorizing these people in this group, and he's going to bring them to Dracula for food. And so he finds out that one of the girls, she's got this terrible drug dealer kind of boyfriend, actually two of them, in the group have boyfriends in the same gang, and they've stolen cocaine from a very big family in the area called the Lobo family. Werewolf? I don't know. No, not in this movie. But so they've taken the cocaine from him, and Renfield tracks them and goes into their operation there, and they think he is somebody sent by the Lobo family to assassinate them, to kill them. And they're like, "Oh, please don't kill us!" And he's like, "Well, I'm friends with Jenny or whoever the hell she was." And then they start laughing at him, and then he starts mopping the place up with them, and then he says, "Well, wait a minute. Did you say something about an assassin coming to kill you?" And just when he says that, this guy shows up, and he looks like Bane from Batman. He's huge. He's humongous.
That's what I thought. This should have been Bane.
All of a sudden, we're not in New Orleans. We're in Gotham City.
Exactly. If this were a Batman movie, yeah, this guy would totally be Bane.
He's like Scarecrow and Bane kind of put together.
Yeah.
And if you didn't think it when you were watching it, you don't know anything about DC, I guess. Yeah. So he takes another bug. Gets super powerful, lifts this guy over his head. He goes, "Oh, I guess you're all out of knives." And the guy cuts his gut open. And he drops him, and then he there's a kid outside. I can't remember this kid's name. I'm gonna say Louis.
Yeah, it's Ted.
Ted? Okay, Ted Lobo. Let me write
Ted
that
Lobo.
down.
Yep.
Okay, and there's a Mama Lobo. She's the leader of the group. Okay, I gotta write those down. Quentin is the police officer, played by Aquafina, the comedian, who's in a lot of does a lot of Asian characters in movies.
And can I just point something out? And this is one of the clever things about this movie. Aquafina, her last name is Quincy.
Oh, Quincy.
And we saw later on we'll see a picture of her father.
Yes.
Who was like this hero, and we find out what happened to him. I guess you'll talk about that, but
yeah,
his name is Morris Quincy. Now, in the original Dracula novel, there's a character named Quincy Morris, who's the Texas cowboy. See, so they kind of threw that in there.
We've talked about that cowboy before, and we were talking about Dracula movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought that was kind of clever that they kind of tossed that in there.
All right. That is clever. That's interesting. A little homage to the earlier Dracula.
Right.
So even though he takes another bug and kicks this guy's head right off of his body, and it goes out the window and hits the orange car outside Ted's car, and he's like, "Holy shit!" And then Renfield comes out and his gut's spilling out. And this guy's like, "Oh my God!" He hauls Boogie. He's traumatized. He hauls Boogie and runs right through a police stopping point where Quincy is and her partner. And she's working traffic. That's a plot point here. And he just blazes right through the whole thing. And she's wanting to stop the Lobo family because she thinks they killed her father. And he just blazes right through, and he crashes his car, and she's like, get out. And she takes him in. Ted Lobo. Meanwhile, we go to Dracula's. This is what Dracula has rented. I think it's an abandoned building.
It's a hospital.
It's an abandoned hospital. Okay.
Yep.
And that's where he's living now. He's turned it into a nice little place for himself. And it's very creepy. There's lots of dead bodies around and, crazy candlelight kind of things and tributes. And what do they call those? Shit. God, now my brain's not working. Like shrines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And very, very serial killer kind of stuff. So Renfield comes in with a couple of dead bodies of these criminals, these drug dealers, and Dracula, bites a finger off and starts sucking, and he's like, "Why are you putting me trash? Why are you?" Actually, he doesn't do a Lugosi voice. He just does Nicolas Cage. But he's like, I want clean souls. I want, wonderful, tasty, like virgin bodies. He goes, bring me some nuns, bring me some cheerleaders, some cheerleader.
A bus full of cheerleaders, which is, yeah.
And Renfield's like, oh, okay, all right. And I got he's just kind of denigrating him and coming down on him, and we're getting a little feeling of the abuse that Renfield has had to go over, the ages. He's got to be 80 years old now or something. They say later in the film, but he's he looks like he's in his 30s still, maybe late 20s. So anyway, so yeah. Dracula heals him. We find out in this scene that Dracula's blood is all healing. So he heals his gut wound there with his blood before he dies. Quincy, her boss, is suspiciously against her, trying to stop the Lobo gang. You think maybe he's being overprotective because he knew her father, but could be. He's working for the Lobo family. We don't know. We're not sure yet. So anyway, Ted Lobo's about to tell everything because he was so traumatized by what he saw. And then the lawyer comes in and everything changes. And this is kind of typical cop show kind of stuff. We find out that she has a sister in the FBI. They both miss their father. And her sister warns her, to be careful not to cross the line. I miss Dad too, but that kind of thing. And then we meet Mama Lobo. Ted goes home and he talks to his mom and tells her that there was a guy and he was, he was a maniac and he killed the big dude. And she's like, well, that's impressive. And we got you out of jail. But we got to find this guy. He's a problem. So Quincy, being a good cop, goes and starts following the orange paint from Ted's car back to the drug house, and she finds Renfield's pen that has the name of.
Actually, it's the name of the club.
Actually, it's the name of the club. Yeah, that she finds the other pen, the pen that ran out of ink, I guess.
Yep.
He used it to get the guy in the neck. It's got blood all over it. So she goes to the club, and this is a funny scene because Renfield is like, oh, yeah, what am I going to do to get Master the food that he wants? And he looks over, and there's a table of nuns right next to him. And then a busload of cheerleaders comes in the front door. And he's like, oh, my God. That's kind of funny. And then Quincy and her partner come in. And then Ted Lobo and the Lobo gang come in, and they're all dressed in these weird kind of wolf outfits. And they're going to shoot up the place because they're looking for Renfield. Mm-hmm. And then they see Quincy, and she's been a problem for their family for a while. So he puts a gun to Quincy's head, and Renfield is impressed with the fact that she stands up to Ted, even though he's got a gun in her head. She's like, well, go ahead, pull the trigger. You want to be a big man? If this is going to do it for you, go ahead, just shoot me. So Renfield eats bugs. there's a fly close by. He eats the fly, eats another bug, and he gets all superpowers and starts mopping the place up with these guys. And the fight scenes in this are long. There are some pretty lengthy, drawn out fight scenes in this movie. That's what it's all about, really. Is Renfield's power to, be Jason Bourne when the time comes.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of there's that one kind of spy movie, The Kingsman.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very calculated battles. Mm-hmm. So anyway, there's a little spark between Quincy and Renfield because he saved her life, and she's grateful. And he's like, well, you're the hero because you stood up to him. And then he hears his master calling. Dracula is like, Renfield, what are you doing? And Dracula still doesn't look good. He's still recuperating. He needs blood. And again, the cleaner the soul, the faster he's going to heal, I guess. So Renfield's got to go. Master's calling. So he goes back, and Dracula is trying to work out a plan for world domination. And it's going to be him, and then there's a little note that says Renfield underneath his name. Because you and me, Renfield, we're going to take over the world. And again, I'm doing an accent, and he doesn't really do a broad accent in this. He's mostly Nicolas Cage.
But he should have, you know.
I would have liked a Bela Lugosi accent, really, but you got to realize that over 80 years, you can lose an accent.
Oh, that's true.
It's true, you know.
Yep.
So, especially if you're not dealing with the local villagers every day. So again, he still looks like shit, but he's telling Renfield, "Hey, I got big plans for us. We're going to take over the world." Renfield's like, "Oh, okay," because he's starting to become like a good guy now. He's starting to like being a good guy and being, doing things that are good for other people. So we go back to the group, the support group. And this character up on the top left, she's very funny because he's always busting in when it's her time to talk. That's the gag. Yeah. He does it like 3 times in the movie. He does it at least 2 times, probably 3. And she's like, "Can I get a story out? Can I just finish my, So that's kind of funny. So he comes in and he goes, what does he say here? This is not the part where he tells them they're all in danger. That's later.
That's later. No, he just says, that he met somebody that stood up, and he realizes that he doesn't have to be a slave anymore or whatever.
Yeah, there we go. And the guy that's the head of the group is very impressed, and he's like, I'm going to help you out as best as I can. He gives him a book on how to deal with narcissists, because he says your boss. He's calling him his boss. He says your boss is a narcissist, and it's true. We give him a book, How to Deal with Narcissists, and we see a little montage of Renfield, getting a place of his own, cleaning it up, repainting it, buying some groceries and flowers and things. And he's talking to the group. The group's like, "Hey, just comb your hair a little more, and clean your nails." And they're telling him what to do. And he's getting his life back together again. So he goes into the station to give his statement from the, about the fight the night before. And you can see there that Quincy is impressed with the transformation. He's cleaned himself up, looking very modern, young, hunky guy. So he's there. He's like, "I'm here to give my statement." She's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. You're a hero." Again, she kind of reaffirms that he's doing the right thing and that he's a good person for it. Meanwhile, the Lobo family are still looking for him, and they get a computer expert that's great with getting into security camera footage and finding people. And they find Renfield, and they find out that he's going to that hospital. Meanwhile, Quincy tells her sister, this pen, I think it has DNA on it of a guy that is a murderer, and he's working for the Lobo family. She thinks he's working for the Lobo family, and I need you to check this for me. I really feel that this is important. So her sister reluctantly agrees to go ahead and run that DNA test for her sister, even though it's not their department. So Ted Lobo and the Lobo gang, show up at the hospital thing. They go inside and they totally freak out because it is creepy as hell in there. Again, a lot of dead bodies lying around and, creepy cult kind of stuff. And Dracula comes out and starts, killing them. And he comes up on Ted. And Ted says, I think you need to talk to my mom. And they get her on the phone. Actually, one of the other guys gets her on the phone just before Dracula snatches him. And she actually hears the attack on the phone of her son and everything. And Dracula finds out. He's like, "Oh, so you're a criminal? You do evil things?" Yeah. We can work something out. He's very sleazy, and Dracula likes that. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm thinking maybe you might be a better assistant to me, or you might be able to show me things here that I want to see more than Renfield. Renfield is starting to do good things, and I'm not too cool on that. And he actually says, we're looking for this guy. He's a problem for us. He's doing good. And it turns out to be Renfield. And he's like, "Renfield!" And so Renfield goes back to his place, his bachelor pad, and Dracula's there. And this scene is a hysterical scene. And it really shows how abusive Dracula is and how, he mocks him throughout the scene. Look at how he's like teasing him here. Look at his facial expressions and stuff. This was clearly written for Nicolas Cage because he's perfect in this scene, and it's wonderful because it's Dracula, but it's Nicolas Cage.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is classic Nicolas Cage, but it's Dracula, which is really funny. Makes it 10 times funnier. So again, he's mocking him, and this is the scene that we have in our opening credits where he goes, "You're a husk." That's what he says. "You're a husk." And Nicholas Hoult, Renfield, pulls out the book, how to fight, and holds it up like a cross. how to fight a narcissist. And Dracula is like, "Oh, that's so adorable." He's just amused. Mm-hmm. And
now,
again, we see these teeth.
Yeah. Now the only thing is that those teeth, it kind of makes it hard for him to talk. And I think that's why it doesn't do the accent too.
Maybe.
Sometimes you can't really.
He's got some big gums under those teeth, that's for sure.
He's got some big gums. Yep.
So he looks on the back of the book to find out who it's from, and he finds out that it's a church is where the group is. And he goes, "Oh, I should have guessed." And then he hauls ass out of there. And he tells Renfield he's going to just make his life miserable. He's going to, destroy everything that he's loved, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, Quincy and her partner are looking for the missing people that were in that drug group. And they come across two of the people from the support group, two of the girls, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we hope our boyfriends are dead. We hope they died a miserable death because they were so abusive." And they're surprised about that both of these women have the same attitude, and they're like, "Wait a minute, how do you two know each other?" Because there's a connection. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're part of this group. That's how we found each other, and that's why we lost our boyfriends, is because we decided to leave them." So again, I wish I could remember this character's name, but she's broken in again by Renfield, and he's like, "You guys, you have to get out of here now. You're in grave danger." And that's when Dracula walks in, and the idiot guy who's runs the group, he's like, "Oh, you come for the group? Come on in." And he's like, "No, because you have to invite a vampire in." The reason that he came into Renfield's place was because Renfield had a welcome mat in front of it, which I thought was a nice little touch. I forgot to mention that earlier. Mm-hmm. And so we get Nicolas Cage here as Dracula with a top hat on, because Dracula's got that look sometimes. And again, very mocking, very condescending, and he's going to kill all these people. And these are people that, Renfield has become attached to. They're his friends. They're his support group. So he reveals himself as Dracula. He levitates off the ground, flies up above them, and reveals that he's Dracula, the Prince of Darkness. And they're like, "Oh, geez, we've really gotten into it this time." So the guy who's the head of the group is like, "I think we're in over our heads here as far as, what we're dealing with here." And he starts to kill him. And he kicks Renfield to the far side of the room, and Renfield watches him kill all of them in like split second as he's flying across the room. So they all die. And again, Dracula says, this is your life now. Anything you come close to, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to destroy it. And I'm going to make you miserable because you abandoned me. If he feels he's abandoned him. So it's a game to him. And there he is telling him. So just by chance, Quincy comes in right at that time where Dracula has just left. And Renfield is there with all those bloody bodies around him. So, and he's got blood all over him. And he looks like he's the killer. And she's like, "Oh my God, I really like this guy." So she takes him out to her car, puts him in the back. She puts handcuffs on him, puts him in the back seat. And that's when the police and the Lobo family show up together. Now, she's already had a scene where she's kind of berated the whole cops, her, fellow cops for taking, some of them, she knows some of them are taking, or on the take, I should say. And her partner is one of them. And her captain is one of them. So they're like, take the deal, be a winner. And and give us Renfield, give us that guy. They don't know his name yet. And she goes, okay. So she jumps in the car and drives off. Because obviously he's the key to something bigger. And so she gets shot, unfortunately, when she tries to escape with him. They shoot through the car and shoot her shoulder. And Renfield ends up taking her to his place. And we see Dracula here.
Dracula and Teddy.
Is it Ted again? This is when they make their deal where he's going to be Renfield's replacement.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, Teddy convinces him to make him the assistant, the familiar. And he gets the superpowers that Renfield had, and he agrees to help Dracula.
Yeah, he kind of looks like the Joker there, with the blood on his face.
I was going to mention this. There are some scenes in this movie where he looks like Conrad Veidt in I think it's called He Who Laughs. It's a silent film.
Yeah, the man who laughs.
And that is actually the character that the Joker, his look was based on.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So yes, I saw that too during this film in some scenes. He does have that look, kind of. So Quincy wakes up in Renfield's apartment, and he's made her some tea. And she's not trusting him, and he's made her cookies. She's not trusting him.
Murder cookies.
And eventually she's about to pass out, so she eats a cookie. And he tries to explain to her that he's not really a bad guy, that he was just getting bodies for his master. That kind of makes things sound worse. Then her sister calls and makes things worse by saying, that pen you gave me? Oh my God, we're talking about a guy who's been murdering. He's got to be in his 80s or something, because he's like a mass murderer that's been all over the world over the ages. And he's killed a lot of people, and you've just unlocked a key to that. And she's like, oh, great. He's making me cookies now. I'm in his apartment. And she's like, you didn't eat a cookie, did you? No. And she did. So that's when the police come. I can't remember how they find them, but I think it's the computer guy. They show the computer guy again. Mm-hmm. So it leads you to believe they found him on computer again through images and stuff. So yeah, the police and the Lobo gang together attack Renfield's apartment, and he's like, I need to get bugs. I need to get something to eat so I can get my powers. And earlier in this film, when he was moving into that place, he gave an ant to a kid next door for his ant farm, and he takes the kid's ant farm and just starts eating the ants out of the ant farm and eating all the sand too. And they're like, you're a very bad man. And he goes, yeah, sometimes I need to be, or something like that. I paraphrased. There he is. And then his eyes turn yellow, and okay, he's super again. So this is one of those lengthy fight scenes I was talking about, where he's taking out people, and it gets just more gruesome and gruesome with each fight scene. He pulls this poor guy's arms off and starts beating everybody else over the head with the stumps. And they're watching on the video cameras and like, ew. So it's pretty amusing. And then he actually throws the stumps through a couple of guys that are, after Quincy. They are. It's pretty gross, but pretty funny too at the same time. Rips a guy's face off. If that's not traumatizing to Quincy, I don't know what is. And then there's a guy that tries to harm Quincy, and then she shoots him, and then as he's falling, he tries to pull her over the rail with him, and then Renfield just dives down from a higher level.
It's like
and just basically takes his bloody body down to a pulp, down to where the other guys are on the floor.
It's like the best wrestling match ever.
And she's looking down at him. He's like, okay, let's go. And there's just blood everywhere. It's just a mess. But I'm really not a bad guy. I just kill bad people. It's the whole Dexter thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a serial killer, but I kill serial killers. That kind of thing. So they get away. And the police chief is like, this is just way too heavy for me. You know, nobody could tell me this guy can fly. That kind of those kind of lines. And then he's out. And he goes in the elevator, and then his head pops. You hear a little skirmish in the elevator, and then his head comes rolling out, and Ted comes out. So Ted is superhuman now. And he goes, Ma, I got to introduce you to somebody. And then some of his guys bring in Dracula's coffin. I sound like Johnny Carson. Dracula's coffin. And they have these metal shutters on their windows. No real reason for it. Other than, you know, it's cool for this scene. But and she can push a button on a remote control and, again, make it completely dark with metal. I guess they turn the place into a fortress because it's a, you know, in case the police raid, I guess. I don't know. They don't really explain it, but it's there. And then Dracula comes out. Now, he's like, see, I told you, the real Dracula. He's so cool. Ted's character is actually kind of fun. I usually don't like characters like this, you know, the stupid stooge bad guy characters, but I do like Ted's character. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's kind of amusing. I was a little disappointed, and I don't know, maybe it would have been too much, but I was kind of hoping that he would kind of rise up, kind of Nosferatu style, you know.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
The one thing that made this scene cool to me, I mean, other than the Dracula crest on the coffin, which was pretty cool, the costume person particularly decided to make his cape a leather black cape this time, which I thought was very cool because that's like a bat, you know. So he's wearing the traditional Dracula garb, but he's got a black leather cape this time, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep.
So now this woman is a famous actor from the Middle East, I believe.
Yep.
And she's got a real raspy kind of voice, like kind of a Harvey Firestein voice. And her voice is actually in the first season of Arcane, the anime show. So I believe it's the same woman. I'm pretty sure it's the same woman. And what's funny was when I first saw Arcane with one of my family members, I thought a character was a man because a police officer, but it was actually a woman, and it was actually made to look like her too. So anyway, Dracula pours on the charm. He likes the fact that, you know, these are evil people, and he can take over the world with them. They'll help him take over the world. So we go outside into the sunlight with Renfield and Quincy. They're having some coffee, and he shows her, you know, his wife and daughter that he left behind to become Dracula's, you know, assistant. He feels guilty about that. You know, Dracula's pointed that out too in this. And then she gets a call from Mama Lobo. They've got her sister. And he's like, Dracula will tell you anything you want to hear to get you to help him, to get you to do his bidding. So just be careful. Don't do that. And he's going to be there. And she goes, come on, come with me. You can help me. And he goes, I don't know. You know, he's not sure because he doesn't want to face Dracula. He goes, look, you got to face him. And again, she says that she likes him, and that's what gets him in the car, basically. So they're pulling out guns, or pulling out holy water and crosses and stuff, and the kind of stuff to hunt vampires. And they get Ted's car. They grab Ted's car, the orange supercharged car, to go to the thing, to add insult to injury. And they know where she is, and they know where the Dracula's with her. So he starts eating bugs. They go get him some bugs at a bait and tackle shop. Yeah. And this is, you know, one of those gross, cute scenes where, you know, he's got bugs on his teeth. And she's like, yeah, you're in all of your teeth.
Yeah, a little sticky stick there.
Sticky stick. There it is. So he gets there, or they get there, I should say, and Ted comes out with a bunch of the gang, and they're all orange-eyed, yellow-eyed, souped up, just like Renfield. They've been eating bugs. And he actually does a thing where he does a centipede up the nose like it's cocaine, which was interesting. So yeah, now it's Renfield against a bunch of other guys that are souped up with those powers. The thing is, though, is Renfield's been doing it a long time, so he's got the moves, and they don't. So upstairs, it's Quincy against Ted. I almost said Jed. I don't know why. And then downstairs, Renfield and the other guys, and Renfield kind of makes short work of the other guys. So he goes up to help Quincy, and it frees her up to go after her sister. And before they went in the building, he said, "Whatever happens, make sure you save your sister." That was his line before going in here. And it's him and Ted now downstairs. They both fell downstairs. Now they're fighting downstairs. So Quincy goes in, and the mother's like, "I got somebody here I want you to meet," and she, pulls the shades down again. I don't know why they put them up. If Dracula's there, you probably want to keep them down. But anyway, it's dramatic. So the shades go down again, and Dracula comes out, and he starts talking to Quincy. And but we've already established too that the Lobos basically admitted to killing her father. They're the ones that killed her dad. So now he's talking to her, and he shows the sister, and he's putting on the charm, as far as trying to get her to do what he wants her to do. He wants her to join him because he wants to hurt Renfield that way. And there's a big fight downstairs with Ted and Renfield, and Ted's actually pretty good at this, despite the fact that he hasn't had much practice. And again, the sister is dead, and he goes, "I can bring her back." He goes, "All you have to do is join me." And she's very upset, but she's like, gonna do. You get the feeling she's gonna do it. But Renfield kind of hears this. He tunes into it somehow, and he eats another bug. His eyes go yellowish again, and we get a very cool scene where he does a kung fu kick to the middle of Ted, and you see the X-ray shot of Ted's bones completely shattering in his body, and the blood and the bones are coming up out of his ass, coming down out of his ass and coming through his mouth. It's again very bloody, very gory. And Ted falls on the floor. What's left of him, kind of pulpy. And he's, all through this fight scene, he's been talking about, "Oh, you must have hated the fact that he picked me over you," all this stuff. And he's like, "No, I've been trying to get away from him. I've been trying to tell you, he's terrible. He's a terrible boss." So we got going back and forth. But anyway, so Ted is gone. He's dead. So Renfield comes in just as she's about to agree to go along with Dracula. And he's like, "No, don't do it. Don't listen to him." And she's like, "I got to save my sister. Maybe I can help Dracula to see the light," is one of her lines. And at that point, she goes for the remote to open the windows. So that's what she does. It doesn't open right away, which is kind of funny. And Dracula realizes it, but it does open. So now, in the first scene, he burns pretty quickly. Dracula does, when the Pope and the other guy are after him. In this scene, he burns and he turns into a bunch of bats and flies away, and they're burning bats. But when we come back in a little bit to another fight scene with him, he doesn't look all burned up like he did in the beginning of the film. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, because even when he was recovering, there were scenes where his skin was getting better and better. He still had some stuff going on with his skin. So I thought that was kind of a mistake. I thought that was kind of a continuity gaffe. He should have had some scarring in the final scene. So anyway, they move out to another area, and it looks like Renfield is dying. He's on the ground, and Dracula shows up. And again, look at his skin there. It's not that bad. He should be all burned up. He should be burned up to some extent.
Yeah.
I guess Cage goes, I don't want to wear the makeup. I don't know. I'm hypothesizing now. But he takes her up. He floats her up into the sky, and he's like, I'm going to bite you. And then we see his fangs actually retract from the other sharp teeth. So that he actually has vampire fangs. And that was something we hadn't seen until now. And her gun, he's holding her gun hand downward. She shoots his foot. She shoots him to their foot. And he's like, congratulations. You shot my foot. And she goes, yeah, your foot's still bleeding. And his blood goes down on Renfield's lips and brings Renfield back. And he's like, I'm going to bite you. And he goes to bite. And there's a face that only a mother could love. See, I got it in there. And Renfield comes up and he puts his hands over the teeth. The fangs go through his hands. Ouch. And he pulls the fangs out. And it's kind of nasty looking there. He's bloody, but he didn't get her blood yet. And the fangs grow back because he's Dracula. He's all powerful. So he's like, you think you have my fangs? They grow back. So he turns into a mist and gets the one up on Renfield. And again, there's the fangs growing back. And as they're scuffling up there in the air where Awkwafina was, where Quincy was, she fell down. Renfield gets very angry at all the abuse that he's taken, and he starts to beat on Dracula. He starts to pull his power back, so to speak. And again, he's seeing flashbacks of the guys in the group telling him, hey, you're the one in charge. You can get the power back. You know how to deal with this guy. It's all you. Take your power back, blah, blah, blah. And he's punching Dracula and punching him. But again, Dracula just regenerates. He's very powerful. Meanwhile, Quincy looks over and sees a huge bunch of cocaine powder over on the sidelines. So as they are fighting, and he's changing into a dark cloud again, because that's one of his big things, his big winning moves. He gets stuck in a demon circle, power circle that she had created out of the cocaine. And she evidently had time to look the video up on YouTube and bless them with the right words that quickly, which is a little much, but hey, it works. So Dracula is there. He's trapped. He can't go anywhere. And they look over to the side, and there's all kinds of weapons in this area where they are on the walls on both sides. So they decide to have some fun and beat the hell out of Dracula, just chop him up into bits. Look at that smile. They're so happy. And look at Dracula. He's like, oh shit. So they're doing everything. They're dumping poison on him. They're chopping him up with chainsaws and knives. They're putting him into concrete, the pulp of his body. They're making concrete ice cubes and ice cube trays, and then they're pouring those down into what do they call that? Not a sewer, but under the ground into a pit with a grate over it. So it's not going to be easy for him to come back from this, because Renfield explains that he's seen his master come back from a lot. So they're not going to make it easy for him to come back again. So there it is. They've destroyed Dracula for now. They've taken the mom out, Mama Lobo, and she's going to jail. And Quincy's like, take that, bitch. Yeah. And the sister is alive somehow. Did he lie?
No, they used Dracula. They got a whole pitcher of Dracula's blood.
I know. I was going to explain that just in a second.
Oh, sorry.
But I'm glad you saw that. Yeah, when she goes back to him, Renfield, he's sitting on the steps there. He's got a pitcher, like a lemonade pitcher full of Dracula blood, which again is all curing. And we find out that he's gone back to his group and he's brought them all back to life. Their bodies, I guess, were still on the ground there in the church, and he brought them all back to life. And they're like, thanks for bringing us back with Dracula blood. That's pretty cool. So all of his friends did not die. Her sister didn't die because they brought him back with Dracula blood. And that's the last thing we actually see in the movie. Is they pan over to the table where the cookies and stuff are, you know, the refreshments, and there's the picture of Dracula blood.
Conveniently labeled.
Conveniently labeled Dracula blood, yes. And we get the end credit, Renfield, which didn't happen at the beginning of the film. We didn't get any credits at the beginning of the film. Some directors like to do that. They'll wait until the very end. And then we get the characters, you know, the names and the actors and stuff. So, and that's it. That's Renfield. Again, a newer trading film. Yes, Hazzard.
I just wanted to say, you know, Nick Cage was incredible. He was riveting, charismatic as always. So it's nothing less than the best.
Yeah, I think it's the best film he's done in a long time.
I think so too. It was phenomenal.
It was a lot of fun to watch. He's very fun as Dracula, and again, you could see he was enjoying himself while he was filming this. He just had a ball with it, and Nicholas Hoult is good. You know, he holds his own. Yeah. And I like Awkwafina too. She's a good actress.
I was surprised by her. She was really good, and you know, you can almost call this the battle of the Nicholases.
Nicholas against Nicholas. Nicholas Nickleby.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Oh, excuse me. A little peach tea there.
Yep. You need some Dracula blood.
Yeah. Could there be a sequel? Sure. You know, who knows? If Nicholas Hoult makes it big as Lex Luthor, and they can talk Nicolas Cage and come back and do it one more time, yeah, you know, he can find a way. They'll find a way to write him back in.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a fun little training film. It does a lot of the traditional vampire stuff, you know, like having to be invited into a room. Excuse me. Holy water and demon circles was a kind of a new thing for Dracula. I didn't realize Dracula would be trapped that way. They threw some new stuff in too.
Mm-hmm.
Dracula blood is all healing. I don't think we've seen that in a previous film or not. Don't remember if we have. So yeah, they mixed a few new things in with some of the traditional stuff about vampires. And again, the real attraction here is Nicolas Cage playing Dracula, a la Bela Lugosi.
Yep.
So, and again, you just get a lot of other fun stuff in the film as well. So nicely done. Nicely done. I highly recommend it. So if you can get past all the graphic gore, which is so excessive that it's actually kind of funny. All right. So next week, a surprise. Probably a classic. And until then, is there anything else anybody wants to say before we nod out? Do watch all of our previous shows, all 168 of them, on YouTube. That's where we archive our shows, and that's where you can find them and watch them. If you have a favorite horror movie, we've probably covered it, you know. And if not, we probably will soon. We're almost through season 6. So over 170 episodes we're going to do at the end of this season, 171. And then the next season will bring us up to 2,000. 200.
200, yep. Well, I just want to mention that next Tuesday, that Roland Pruitt fella, I think he's coming back and he's showing another kaiju.
Should be Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. They weren't able to do it last week because of a technical gaffe, so they postponed it. So it should be Godzilla versus Hidra, the Smog Monster, next Tuesday. Monday on Two Guys and a Gal Talking Movies. They're going to be talking about an actress.
I think it's going to be that Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence, that's right. Jennifer Lawrence. Kate Everdeen. Kat Everdeen. Yeah. So that'll be fun. Again, if you haven't watched those shows, they're also archived on YouTube. That's Two Guys and a Gal Talking Movies, where they talk about a particular actor or director or actress or movies, something that deals with the movies. They'll talk about the person's work, and a lot of fun. And Roland Pruitt's Kaiju Review, where they talk strictly about Toho monster movies, kaiju movies. which we've done a lot of. They're going from the very first one through the whole canon. So they're almost finished with season 1, which will end with Terror of Mechagodzilla in a couple of weeks. They'll be done with their first season and start working on their second season. So, yeah, tune in. A lot of fun. Good stuff.
Yep.
All right. Hazzard, thank you for keeping this running like a well-oiled machine.
Thank you. I'm always well-oiled. Roland tells me that all the time. Thank you for confirming.
Okay, that paints a pretty picture. And keep an eye out for those big monsters.
This here's Master Sergeant Havoc. Thank you for watching this episode of the Big Monster Briefing Room. Now, why don't you go ahead and give us a like and subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell next time big old giant monster comes calling. See y'all later.